Welcome. Today we're going to talk about how to pick up the stitches on your heel flap using the two circular method. Here at Not Another Hat, we teach socks with the two circular method, and I've got a pattern that we use. We've actually got our pattern for lightweight, midweight, and boot weight socks. And so a lot of people have questions about how to use the two circular method when they pick the stitches up along their heel. So we're going to talk about that today. I've got a little mock sock, and on our mock sock we already have a heel flap here with a slip stitch heel flap, and we have turned the heel already here. And we've got our heel stitches already, and now we're ready to pick stitches up along these two heel flap sides to get us joined back in the round. So we've knit across the heel stitches here. Our working yarn is right here coming out of this last heel stitch, and we're just going to turn the corner and pick up along this edge of this heel flap. We want to make sure we really look for the true edge and don't get kind of a fake edge. So we kind of roll the flat fabric right here back. So we'll put our needle into this first stitch right here, bring the yarn around and bring out a live stitch, and we're just going to work down the edge doing the same thing. When we worked our heel flap, we slipped the first stitch of each row, creating these nice elongated stitches that make it really easy to get in and pick up the stitches you need down your heel flap. So each time I'm giving a little roll to the fabric with my left pointer finger, and we're just working right on down. And we've got one or two more here. This is the last one right here. We're going to grab that. So now we've got our heel stitches right here and the picked up flap stitches from the first half of the flap, and we need to get over here to the second half of the flap. So we're going to pull our heel needle to a resting point, and we're going to switch around and knit across the instep on our instep needle. In this case, I just happen to have two different types of needles here that I'm working with. One of them is an Addi Turbo and one of them is a carbon, and I get gauge the same on both of those needles. This can be a helpful thing if you are new to the two circular method and need help keeping track of which needle you should be on at any moment. Remember, this is the method where one needle works while the other needle rests, meaning you're always knitting from needle A onto needle A and not ever from needle A onto the tip of needle B. So when I have two separate needles, I know I'm doing the method correctly because I'm holding two carbon tips in my hand. It can be helpful when you're first getting started to use two different kinds. Or two different lengths is also another great way to do it. So we're just working across our our instep stitches here. And now we're almost at the end. This is all we're going to do with the instep. So we've got our last instep stitch. We're going to pull the instep needle out to rest now and flip around. And here's the conundrum that people encounter. They need to pick stitches up in this direction because our working yarn's over here. But how do we do that? Where do we find an available tip? This seems like this isn't going to be the right tip here, because how do we get this around? And it's not the correct one. We're going to put the left tip here all the way up, ready to go at the end of these heel stitches right here. And now looking at this with our yarn here, we're going to take the right tip of our needle, empty in our right hand, and we're going to put it in right at the base down here next to the working yarn at the bottom of the heel flap. And we will bring our yarn around that needle and not let it fall off like I just did. Bring it around, and we will bring out our first stitch, and now we're on the road to get the heel flap stitches coming up the other side of the heel flap. So we'll continue now, again making sure that we've got the true edge of the fabric, which we do, picking stitches up as we go. And here we are, we've just got a few more left to go, and you can see we're getting closer to meeting the other half of our needle, which is waiting for us up here at the top on the heel stitches. And there we are. And now we're ready to continue on with the instructions and decrease for the gusset.